218 people died in 15 seconds. At 6:07 p.m. on August 4, 2020, a shockwave ripped through Beirut with the force of a 3.3 magnitude earthquake. Windows shattered 15 miles away. The blast was heard in Cyprus, 150 miles across the Mediterranean. Half of Lebanon's capital was destroyed in an instant. But here's what nobody talks about. This wasn't a surprise. It wasn't a terrorist attack. It wasn't an accident that nobody could have prevented. 2,750 tons of ammonium nitrate had been sitting in Warehouse 12 at Beirut port for 6 years. 6 years. And at least 10 government officials knew it was there. They knew it was dangerous. They sent emails. They wrote reports. They begged for action. Every single warning was ignored. What happened next wasn't just a tragedy. It was the predictable result of corruption, negligence, and a government that valued bureaucracy over human life. This is the story of how a forgotten cargo ship became the largest non-nuclear explosion in modern history. And why every person in power looked the other way. It started with a rust bucket called the MV Rosus. September 2013. A Moldovan-flagged cargo ship limping into Beirut port. The ship was en route from Georgia to Mozambique, carrying 2,750 tons of ammonium nitrate. The same chemical used in fertilizer. Also the same chemical Timothy McVeigh used in Oklahoma City. The ship had mechanical problems and unpaid port fees. Lebanese authorities wouldn't let it leave. The cargo was too dangerous to keep on a broken ship. So they unloaded it. All 2,750 tons went into Warehouse 12. A simple corrugated metal shed near the port's grain silos. No climate control. No security. Just bags of white crystals stacked floor to ceiling. The ship's owner, Russian businessman Igor Grechishkin, abandoned the vessel. He stopped paying crew salaries. The crew was stranded for a year before they were finally repatriated. The MV Rosus was left to rust in the harbor. And the ammonium nitrate? It just sat there. But here's where it gets worse. Within months, Lebanese customs officials realized they had a problem. Ammonium nitrate degrades over time. It becomes more volatile. More sensitive to heat and shock. And Warehouse 12 wasn't sealed. Rain leaked through the roof. Summer temperatures inside hit 40 degrees Celsius. Every day that passed made the situation more dangerous. Yet nobody moved it. The first warning came in June 2014. Customs Director Shafik Mary wrote to a judge requesting the chemicals be removed or sold. The letter was ignored. He wrote again in 2015. And 2016. And 2017. Each time, nothing happened. By 2020, at least 6 different agencies had been warned. The General Security Directorate, State Security, Military Intelligence, the Army, the Ministry of Public Works. Even Prime Minister Hassan Diab received a report 15 days before the explosion. Nobody acted. But what they didn't know was that Warehouse 12 wasn't just storing ammonium nitrate. It was also storing fireworks. Because of course it was. Every expert who saw Warehouse 12 said the same thing. Get that ammonium nitrate out. Now. In 2014, the head of Lebanese customs wrote that the chemicals posed a security risk. In 2015, a judge visited the warehouse and ordered the army to secure it. The army said it wasn't their jurisdiction. In 2016, state security sent a classified memo warning that the chemicals could destroy the entire port and nearby areas. The memo sat on a desk. In 2017, General Security sent another warning. Same result. Nothing. Meanwhile, maintenance workers were welding near Warehouse 12. Repairing doors. The sparks flew inches from bags of explosive material. Nobody stopped them. Port workers knew the chemicals were there. Some joked about it. One worker later told investigators he'd warned his supervisor that the warehouse was a death trap. His supervisor told him to mind his own business. By 2020, the bags had been sitting there for 2,191 days. The warehouse was deteriorating. Bags were torn. White powder spilled across the floor. And still, nobody moved it. On July 20, 2020, port authorities ordered maintenance on Warehouse 12's entrance. Workers began welding the door shut to prevent theft. They worked for days. Sparks flew. Heat built up. And then came August 4th. At 5:54 p.m., a small fire started in Warehouse 12. Security cameras captured smoke pouring from the building. Port workers tried to extinguish it with basic fire extinguishers. It didn't work. The fire spread to the fireworks stored nearby. At 6:07 p.m., the fireworks ignited. For 30 seconds, Beirut watched as rockets exploded over the port in a chaotic display. People filmed it on their phones. They had no idea what was coming. Then the ammonium nitrate detonated. The explosion released energy equivalent to 500 to 1,100 tons of TNT. It created a crater 140 meters wide. The grain silos next to Warehouse 12 were obliterated. The shockwave traveled at 3,000 meters per second. It flattened everything within a kilometer radius. Glass shattered across 10 kilometers. 218 people were killed instantly. Another 7,000 were injured. 300,000 people were left homeless. The explosion was so powerful that seismologists in Germany detected it. Satellite images showed a mushroom cloud rising over the Mediterranean. And the world watched in horror. But here's what nobody expected. The Lebanese government's response wasn't transparency. It was a cover-up. Within hours, Lebanese officials claimed ignorance. President Michel Aoun said he only learned about the ammonium nitrate 3 weeks earlier. Prime Minister Hassan Diab said the same. Both were lying. Investigators later found documents proving Aoun's office received a detailed security report on July 20, 2020. 15 days before the blast. The report explicitly warned that 2,750 tons of explosive material was stored unsafely. It recommended immediate action. Aoun did nothing. Diab's office received at least 3 warnings between 2019 and 2020. He ignored them all. But it gets worse. After the explosion, the government arrested 25 people. Port officials. Customs directors. Warehouse workers. Not a single high-ranking politician. Not one cabinet member. Not the president or prime minister. The investigation stalled immediately. Judges assigned to the case were blocked at every turn. When Judge Fadi Sawan tried to charge Diab and 3 former ministers, the government had him removed from the case. His replacement, Judge Tariq Baitar, faced the same obstruction. Politicians refused to testify. They filed motions to dismiss charges. They accused Baitar of bias. The investigation was suspended 5 times. In 2024, 4 years after the explosion, not a single person has been convicted. Not one. Meanwhile, victims' families have been fighting for justice. They've held protests every month since 2020. They've documented every lie. Every obstruction. Every politician who refused to testify. In 2021, Human Rights Watch published a 126-page report. It concluded that Lebanese officials knew about the risks and did nothing. That their negligence amounted to criminal responsibility. The report named 12 officials who should face charges. None have. Interpol issued a red notice for Igor Grechishkin, the ship's owner. He's never been found. Some reports place him in Russia. Others say Cyprus. He's never given an interview. Never explained why he abandoned a ship full of explosives in one of the Middle East's busiest ports. And the international community? They sent aid. They rebuilt homes. But they didn't demand accountability. Because Lebanon's political system is designed to protect the powerful. It always has been. The same officials who ignored the warnings are still in office. They still control the ports. The customs agencies. The security services. And they've learned nothing. In 2023, another stockpile of ammonium nitrate was discovered in southern Lebanon. 20 tons. It had been sitting there for years. Unguarded. Unstirred. Forgotten. Just like Warehouse 12. The Beirut port explosion wasn't an accident. It was a choice. A choice made by officials who valued their comfort over public safety. Who saw warnings as paperwork, not prophecies. 218 people died because bureaucrats couldn't be bothered. Because politicians protected each other instead of their citizens. Because corruption had rotted the system so deeply that even catastrophe couldn't force change. Today, Beirut port is partially rebuilt. Cranes move cargo. Ships dock. Life goes on. But Warehouse 12's crater remains. It's filled with seawater now, a permanent scar on the harbor. Families still demand justice. They know they'll never get it. Not from a government that imprisoned port workers but shielded ministers. Not from a system where accountability dies in red tape. The lesson isn't just about Lebanon. It's about what happens when warnings are ignored. When institutions prioritize power over people. When everyone knows disaster is coming, and no one stops it. If you're still watching, ask yourself what other warnings are being ignored right now. Which ticking time bombs are sitting in warehouses, in systems, in governments, waiting for their August 4th? Because Beirut proved something terrifying. Sometimes the disaster isn't the surprise. It's that everyone saw it coming. And the next question is darker. What other forgotten shipments are still sitting out there, unclaimed and unguarded, in ports we'll only hear about when it's already too late? Subscribe for a new dark truth every day.